remember realizing I had just stepped on ID. I never heard anything. Couldn't see anything, couldn't hear anything, couldn't feel anything, but I could still talk to myself.
Really?
Yeah, and I remember like, I'm dead. And then I was like, you can talk to yourself for eternity? This is awful. And then,
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I mean, the first time we really lived together was after I got injured. I was in a hospital room. I mean,
That's
for
the first, wow,
for any
what a
significant amount of
shift.
time. Yeah, she was a little way from being a 25-year-old widow to, how do you deal with these amputations with no context to how to deal with them.
Yeah, even while you're going through it too, which is a huge feat in itself. Oh my goodness.
Hello and welcome to GSF Podcast, sponsored by the Gary Sinise Foundation's Education and Outreach Initiative, aiming to educate the public on the importance of serving America's veterans, first responders, and their families.
Welcome to the Gary Sinise Foundation podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Kampsnyder, and today I am joined by a true American hero, U.S. Army Captain Tyson Quink. Tyson has served our country with courage and distinction. After being severely wounded in combat, he faced a long road to recovery, one marked by strength, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to continue leading and inspiring others. His journey is not only a testament to the power of perseverance, but also a reminder of the sacrifices made by those who defend our freedom. Welcome to the podcast, Tyson.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I'm so grateful for you to be here. So to start, how did you get connected with the Gary Sinise Foundation?
Yeah, I first got connected with one of my buddies, Jake Murphy, who the foundation built a house for me in Texas. We went to school together. We were in the same unit, same brigade in Afghanistan. He was obviously seriously injured as well. And he was going through the process. It connected me initially, and I was like, this was back in 2015 time frame. And I was like, I don't need this. There's other people who need it much more, and I get around pretty well. A lot of people, especially when I'm wearing pants, can't tell I'm an amputee. And then a few years ago, someone else contacted me and said, hey, you should really look into this. And I was like, I'm starting to feel the wear and tear of being an amputee. And,
I've heard this, the same kind of story. When you're younger, it's like, you're like, I'm mobile, I don't need it. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's the kind of that public perception that I put on when I'm in public, when I'm dealing with people. But there's the private reality of, you get home, you wake up in the morning, you put the liners on, you get in your legs, and you're kind of, all right, starting the day, I'm ready to go. And you kind of deal with those challenges. So that's kind of how I got involved with it. They reached out, and I filled out the application. I've been going through the process now, and they're in the process of building the home.
Yeah. Can you actually share a little bit more about that? Because I think that that's a perspective that people don't actually understand or can come up with in their own mind. What is it like in your private time, if you don't mind sharing a little bit, of the challenges?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm in public, I got to I'm in a public, I got to move, I got to keep going. Yeah.
You're just able.
Yeah, we have kids, they play sports, we're constantly doing sports, I'm at work, I got to move, the world is not adaptive for people who need adaptations. So a wheelchair doesn't really work that well, so I got to figure it out. And so it looks great when I'm outside, but when I get back after standing or walking for 8 hours or a long day, I'm done. My legs, sometimes they have sores, they have cuts. They're just, the weight in your socket changes, so it may be rubbing bad. So you get back and you just don't want to do anything. I But that can persist if it becomes more serious. Then how do you use a wheelchair? And I don't really try to stay out of them. And so it's kind of this grind of, all right, I'm at home. I can be a little bit less involved, but I have 3 kids. So you can't be less involved.
Good luck. You cannot.
So you're dealing
Not
with
a
that.
chance.
Yeah. So dealing with that, you got to be involved. They're moving. They have activities. And so you kind of just got through it and pushed through it and try to figure out how to make it work. But there are times where it is painful and you're moving around and you're like, I got to deal with this. And I've had some times where it's gotten too much and kind of have to take a break and figure out how to treat it and still get things done though. Like the world doesn't stop for it.
That's so interesting that it's what you see is often maybe you're standing and you're capable, but then underneath it all you can never know if it's still hurting. Yeah. What was it like to find out that you were accepted into the home building program and that the Gary Sinise Foundation is going to build you a custom home built for your needs?
That's been awesome. I mean, it's been a long process. It's taken a while, kind of going through it, dealing with the county and on the permitting and stuff. But they've been working through it. I was playing golf when he called me.
Okay, I was going to ask, what was it like hearing? So he called you.
Yeah, so I
playing golf.
Yeah, so I've usually even in the summer I can get, if I can play an early tee time, like a 6:30 tee time, I can get a full round in before my kids' sports start. And was able to play, and it was on the 18th fairway, and phone rang, and I grew up in California, so my cell phone is still a California area code. So anything from California I just ignore because it's telemarketing or something like that. And some reason I picked that up. I didn't have his number in there, and picked it up, and you heard his voice is very distinctive. You heard him call, and I was like, all right, this is all. I got home, and I got to tell my wife and family. They were obviously pretty excited about it.
Yeah. What was their reaction?
From them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the kids were excited this opportunity to.
Good.
They're excited for what it brings. They're nervous about they thought maybe there'd be significant changes. Luckily, we're pretty much in the same neighborhood.
Oh, good.
So the school's got to stay the same. My wife is excited because she knows the realities. She was there from, shortly after I got injured through the entire process. And so she knows it. She bears additional duties that help out within the house, things where, especially when it comes to my injuries. And so I think for her, the peace of mind, when I'm showering and not potentially gonna, crash or getting up and down the stairs or doing those things are what I think weigh on her and what is going to be a benefit for her. The
caregiver role is very, very important. Very, very important. So we recently hosted you and your incredible family and so many supporters, not only locally, but from afar, for your Gary Sinise Foundation Walls of Honor ceremony. And can you share with our listeners about the ceremony?
Yeah, I hate being in the spotlight.
And here you are.
But it ended up meaning a lot more than I thought it would.
Good.
And I think, for me, it was the show that I'm like, I don't want to be in that. But the county sheriff's department escorted us over there. They had this huge flag hanging from the fire department. And there was 150 or so folks who showed up, and I maybe knew 30 of them. And so for me, it was interesting to see the impact on the larger community. One of the guys I knew who went there, he said he was on the bus riding over there, and he was like, "Oh, how do you know Tyson?" He's like, "I don't." He's like, "I just heard about it and showed up for it."
Oh, that is so beautiful. You're a big inspiration to not only your community, but so many. So at the ceremony, people are writing on the walls of essentially the foundation of your home. So in a way, your home is built out of love. What was that like?
It was cool. My wife ended up going back and taking a picture of every single thing that was written on there. So
were there any messages that stood out the most to you?
There was one lady who wrote, "Go Navy," and that.
Did you go and take a permanent marker on it?
Yeah, so just laugh about it. I know her, so it's kind of a inside joke.
You have your friends. Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't a random one on there, but
you knew who did it.
Yeah, she left her name.
She didn't even hide it.
No. But yeah, it was cool seeing that. Hopefully, that's the last time people write on the walls in the house.
Yeah.
With the kids.
3 kids.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it was cool to seeing the messages and kind of actually going back and reading them and what people write, because you live it. It's been 14 years now since I've been injured. So I've been out of the Army for 12 years. I still deal with that community, but I'm not involved with it anymore. And so you kind of step back. You don't see the impact. I mean, I remember when I got injured. It's crazy to think I was injured in the middle of the war. I think it was the end. Having just kind of recently ended, and so seeing what it still means to people. I think the thing I was interested in, I've chatted with my wife and others, is like, all right, when these wars end, which hopefully they do, what does that mean for all these organizations? People forget about them, and it's not at the top of their mind. It's not there's the next issue, they move on. So how do things continue to evolve? How do people continue to support these organizations, and can these organizations continue to support the people that they are meant to support?
I love how you say that, and that's truly the core mission of the Gary Sinise Foundation and Gary's heart is just never forgetting. He always wanted to just ensure that our defenders and those who are willing to sacrifice, to know that there are so many grateful Americans that are truly grateful for what you do, what you volunteer to do. And so for you, you talked about this, but we always hear about people joining the service, oftentimes in reaction to an attack on America. But you joined in response, in a way, during wartime. Is that motivation different somehow?
I think a little bit. I mean, you have that kind of visceral reaction when it happens, and can you do something? I think I was sophomore in high school when it happened. And I grew up in California, so for me, it was a different timeline than other people that I've met now. I was asleep when the first planes happened. My mom ended up waking us up after the second planes hit, saying something's going on. But we didn't have that impact that a lot of other people felt being all the way across the country. Things continued on. School didn't get canceled. Sports continued on. And so it was a different kind of understanding of how California, there wasn't a military community around me.
Right.
But you had the visceral reaction, but what am I going to do as a sophomore? But as you feel like you should do something, and yet joining while it's going on, you knew there's a great possibility that you're going to be deployed.
Exactly.
And so it definitely had an impact on me, and I think that was one reason I joined the military, among others.
Why did you join?
Well, I initially joined because I wanted to play college football.
Okay.
So I was, especially the opportunity to play Division I college football, and so I got recruited to West Point to play football there.
That's huge.
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, you couple the military activities and all that West Point has, and then you bring in the football, and it was a lot more than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I don't know what I thought it was going to be. I didn't have a big military family. My grandfather served in World War II. Other than that, we didn't have like this military community to like, all right, what does this mean?
So you went a little blind almost.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, I want to play football. I'll figure this other stuff out later.
You had one goal.
Yeah. And so you get there, and then you realize, all right, this is more than just football.
Way more.
And there's a lot more going on. And I didn't go in there kind of completely blind.
Yeah. You obviously had expectations.
Yeah. And so, after that first year, you're kind of like, all right, I enjoy this. I enjoy what we're doing, and as you get more training experience and things like that. By the time you graduate, I mean, really, I think football was the greatest life lesson I've ever had. From getting you prepared. How do you deal with hardships? How do you deal with you break your hand? I broke my hand in college. How do you deal with injuries? How do you deal with challenges of the game and pushing through adversity and things? I think that is the single biggest thing that's helped me recover.
Oh wow!
When I got injured. Remember, like I got to set a goal for myself, and it was I had one prosthetic on my left leg, the other one was still broken, my knee had broken, and so I had an X-Fix on it, and I don't remember how many laps it was 20-something laps around the inside of the track, was a mile, and I was like, I'm going to do one more every day, and so it started with, let me do one, so I crutched one lap, and then, all right, I'm going to do two, and so I did it until I hit it all. I just needed a goal, something to work towards.
And that was like you had that kind of training or that kind of mindset from college, from West Point. Wow.
Yeah, the idea of when is it pain versus an injury? All right, I'm experiencing pain and discomfort because I'm pushing myself harder, but I'm not injured enough where I have to stop. I'm uncomfortable. I can keep going. I can figure this out. And and try to gain the strength back and the kind of something to wake up in the morning for at that time.
That's hard to decipher between sometimes, that kind of gray area in a way, and just really getting in tune with your own body and knowing and being okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Most people run away from that. What is it that pushes you through that?
Yeah, I think the more I've done it, the more experience I've had is that you don't really have, your other choice is to do nothing. And so it's I can do something. I can push it through and accomplish something today. And that was kind of what it was.
Yeah. Okay, so West Point, huge. We recently had General Vince Brooks and Colonel Greg Gatz on here, who are just infamous at West Point. So I have to ask you, how did Army do against Navy?
Yeah, well, they're doing much better now than they have done.
I think I almost had like a threat from Colonel Gadsden when I asked him that question. I'm surprised the podcast kept going on.
Yeah, we didn't have the best record against them when I was there, but it's been great to watch them these last several years.
Still have that like fierceness in your blood.
Oh yeah, it never goes away.
Did you know that Gary's brother-in-law is Mac Harris, and that he was the one who coined the phrase "be, no, do"?
I did not.
Did you know? Yeah, that's him. That's his brother-in-law, and so the depth and the history of even Gary for West Point is just huge.
Yeah,
huge, and Mac Harris, which was his brother-in-law, was actually where they named Mac Sinise, so his son. So it's all intertwined and all kind of part of that. So okay, so following graduation. You were commissioned as a second lieutenant, correct? Okay, so what was your military occupational specialty, or MOS, or in layman's terms, your job?
Yeah, so I was a field artillery officer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we got commissioned, kind of got married the day after graduation.
I was going to say, you met your wife also at West Point.
Yeah, so tomorrow's our 16th wedding anniversary.
Stop.
Yeah. So like any good sports parents, we're going to spend it apart at sporting events.
Oh, I was going to say, do you have anything you want to say to her? Maybe not. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to see you.
Yeah, essentially.
Oh, man. Wow, so 16 years and you met there. Okay. And then you were deployed together. How long till you guys were deployed?
So we deployed in March of 2011.
Okay.
So went to our basic course in 2009. Mine was a lot longer than hers. So she had already been up at Fort Drum in New York. I met her up there. And then I was in the field the whole time. So our first 2 years of marriage, we didn't even really live together. I mean, we did, but it was the weekends that we saw each other. The first time we really lived together was after I got injured. Was in a hospital room. I mean,
that's the first. Wow,
pretty
what a
significant amount of time. Yeah.
Wow.
And so, not only were we still learning about each other, learning how to deal with this, where she was a little way from being a 25-year-old widow to how do you deal with these amputations with no context to how to deal with them.
Yeah, even while you're going through it too, which is a huge feat in itself. Oh my goodness. And that's incredible. Okay, so can you walk us through, I just want to back up because I do want to go on to that. Can you walk us through the day that you were injured?
Yeah, so it was June 5th, 2011. We had gone out in the morning on a patrol, kind of a routine patrol. Nothing really significant happened there. We came back, and I had known we had another mission that evening. There was a brigade level mission task. There was 3 locations in our area that we could go to. We had to go there for a certain amount of time to do interdiction type operations. So I knew I had to do that night. So we got all, the platoon got ready. We went out. Our other platoon, second platoon, was out, had gotten a firefight, and they had detained a couple guys. So we get to our location and get set up for the night, thinking this is where we're going to be. Set up security in the area. But they had detained those couple guys. I don't know if it was 2 or 3 people, and then they were coming back and they found several IEDs in the area. And in this area where they were we have found a lot. And I think after I got injured, they found even more. I mean, it's just continuous. And so I got a call on the radio saying, "Hey, you guys need to move over there. You're going to replace them. You're going to set up security for the night, and they're going to bring those detainees back." We've done something similar to that before, so it wasn't out of the blue. I just remember it was super dark that night. I just remember being, I guess I made a comment, and I kind of remember saying it, but my medic and my radio operator had heard it. I was, man, someone's going to get injured tonight. And just because it was so dark, it was really, there was no illumination, so your night vision really wasn't working that great either. It was just hard to see.
So your senses are off. You're just...
Yeah, you can't see. I remember one time we were walking over there, I put my hand in front of my face to see if I could see it, and it was just,
no different. Oh,
no, it was just a dark night. And so we get over there, we link up with them, and as we're leaving, they find another IED next to this pump house. And so they continue on. We're setting up security. So we're kind of in the transitioning out of this area. And so I cut across this little field. I mean, it's a pretty small area. And we're in this grape field. This is a grape kind of orchard. It was one of the main crops they grew out there. So it looks like, vineyards you see in Napa, except they're...
Oh my gosh, like kind of beautiful.
Dirt mounds.
Oh, wow.
And so they grow, and they're tough to get through because they're not well maintained like a normal vineyard. And we're up at the top of it, so there's a path that's going north to south, and there's a wall next to it. And we're trying to get down there to set up some security. So we call up one of our soldiers who has the metal detector to go clear the path so we can get down there. And as he's coming, I step back. As I step back, I remember realizing I had just stepped on ID. I never heard anything. But I remember it seemed like the kind of world lit up around me real quick. This is almost instantaneous. And I went black. Couldn't see anything, couldn't hear anything, couldn't feel anything, but I could still talk to myself.
Really?
Yeah, and I remember I'm dead. And I was like, I'm dead, I can't believe I'm dead. And then I was like, you can talk to yourself for eternity? This is awful. And then,
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So there's a little humor to it, but
gosh.
Then I came
this is
to.
tragic.
Yeah.
Like I can talk to myself. Oh my goodness.
Because I didn't know any of the injuries. I mean, literally, I was living, it was just black.
Did it feel like it was going in slow motion, or was it just?
I think it felt like it was a little bit of time. I think it was a matter of 5 to 10 seconds. I mean, I think it was a very short amount of time because when I came to, some of the debris was still coming down. So it was a very short thing, but I remember thinking, I was like, because I never didn't feel the injury. I didn't feel the blast. Like I said, I couldn't hear anything, but I had a full conversation with myself I was like, oh, this is
almost in calmness, it seems like.
Yeah.
Like you weren't panicked.
No, it's like I'm dead. And then I came to, and I was in excruciating pain. Both my feet had been blown off.
So you were conscious? Like
I was.
you,
So
okay.
I never lost consciousness until they put me out in the hospital.
You never lost, even on your way to the hospital? No.
So I was alert the whole time, and I could see, it was getting dark, but I could look up and I could see the end of my tibia on the right leg was sticking out. There was no flesh or anything. I was just kind of just this white bone. I could tell the left one hurt, but I couldn't see it as well. The pant leg was a little bit more intact than the right leg, and try to tell people what it feels like. It felt like I was standing in like a liquid fire. It just was this intense burning that you just couldn't do anything about. So I woke up and then my eyes came to, and I started yelling for help. Some guys, there was a guy literally standing next to me when it went off, and he got thrown against the wall. He got a pretty bad concussion. Luckily, he was able to recover. The guy who was coming to clear was right behind me. He got big gashes in his arm, piece of his ear messed up, and another guy got knocked unconscious. And so I could tell the one guy, my squad leader, got injured and that he had a concussion. He tried to crawl over to help me to put tourniquets on, but he had no dexterity. He had a bad concussion.
But immediately his reaction was just to go and help you.
Yeah. And so he got over there, and they ended up yanking him back because he probably didn't know where he was at. I mean, he knew enough to try to help, but he had some pretty serious issues going on from the concussion. And so they got up there. Luckily, there was 2 platoons out there. So there was 2 medics. Quickly put tourniquets on both my legs, and I remember just being in this unquenchable thirst. I was so thirsty. I was losing all the blood, the volume, and so your body's trying to fill it up. And I remember looking back at the first, and I saw the guy who I knew had the extra water. I said, give me a water. So he gave me a bottle of water, drank it quickly. They're still working on me. And I was like, I need another bottle of water, but I could feel I was starting to lose dexterity in my hands because of the blood volume. At this point, I didn't feel anything anymore. I had no pain anymore. That adrenaline kicked in, and it was all gone. And when he gave me that bottle of water, I was trying to drink it, but could barely put it towards my mouth. So I spilt most of it, like kind of on myself. But I could I feel like it was like almost feeling like the life was trying to go out of my face. It kept like starting in the nose and kind of going out. I was trying to like squeeze it back in. I was like, all right, I got to get out of here. So the medevac landed. They picked me up. They had to carry me. I got injured at the very beginning of this grape field, so they had to carry me all the way through it. And it was a long field. They ended up dropping me once because it wasn't very wide.
Oh, man.
And then they put me on the medevac, and they put me in what would be feet first. And to the right of me I didn't know it at the time, was the soldier who was going to come down and clear the path, and he wasn't moving. So I was like, he's dead, but I don't know who it was. I could just see that he wasn't moving at all. And the jump seat to the right of him was my squad leader, and he had his head in his hands and kind of looked at me, and I was trying to yell. I was like, who is this? He told me, so then I knew who it was. And he just shook his head. And then the other guy who got knocked out was sitting in the other jump seat next to me, just holding his head. And we flew to Kandahar. We landed. They took me off the medevac, put me on the stretcher in the room. I can remember going down the hallway, turned left. They're talking to me, and they said, have a discussion with the doctor. And I was like, don't let me die. And then it was black. And so I don't know if they ended up giving me some drugs and knocking me out real quick, because I felt like we were still moving, or if my body was it was done.
It just knew to get you to that point.
Yeah.
Get to the doctors, and then they'll have you.
Yeah, so I got there, and they put me through surgery. They had to make a call for blood to the airfield, that people to come donate blood, and put me out. But as they did that, my wife was in Afghanistan as well.
Right. So how did her finding out, please share.
Yeah, well, a story from her that, she was in her tent, and somebody had come in there and kind of said, hey, we're just checking to see if people are here. And she was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of weird, but all right. And then later on, somebody else came and said, hey, the battalion commander needs to talk to you. And she's like, all right, maybe the internet's down. She was the battalion S6 for that battalion. And as she's walking over there, she's like, is everything all right? Is Tyson all right? And yeah. How it impacted her is, for me, probably the toughest thing. She went in there and they wouldn't answer her, and so when she got in there, they told her, and it's like, hey, he's still alive, but he's definitely injured. And they flew her out to the airfield, and she got there that night, and they were able to take care of her and get her all situated, and then she was there when I woke up. They woke me up, and she was there, which was good, because hey, you're going to go back with them, and so. Okay,
so what was it like to see her then, when you wake up and you did know that you were injured, and so.
Yeah, so I woke up. They woke me up with the tube still in my mouth at first, and they put me back down, and then they woke me up, and she was able to come there. I was just kind of in a daze. I mean, I was alert. I knew what was going on. I can see it. I can remember it. But it was just, I was just kind of numb to it. Like, didn't have any pain, anything. I was just in bed, and saw her. Was glad to see her there. And some of the soldiers who got injured with me had made a good enough recovery that they were able to come over and
they wanted to
chat.
check on you.
Yeah, so we were able to do that, but then they flew her out with me, and so she was able to fly from Kandahar to Bagram, and then Bagram to Germany, and Germany back, and it was good because having someone advocate for you, which very few soldiers actually get that experience of having their spouse join them the whole way there. But
it's very unique. It's a situation. I mean, we've not heard it since.
Yeah,
that's to have someone. I would think that even getting deployed, it's a little, there's got to be this anxiety. You're going together on deployment to combat.
Yeah.
But for her to be there with you.
Yeah, and for me, it was the idea of getting injured never crossed my mind.
Really?
You're either going to come home alive or you're going to come home dead. Like, I didn't even think of getting injured. Never thought of it.
Did you two talk about that?
No, we talked about, potentially not make it. Hey, what would you want to have done? But to me, I was like, I'm just going to stay positive. We're not going to talk about something negative happening. And so, yeah, getting injured was just kind of, didn't cross my mind as a possibility or nothing severe like that. You don't really think if you're going to survive a big explosion that happened. But yeah, she was able to stay with me the whole time, which helped out throughout the process. She was able to vouch for me. Like my knee had broken, and we got to Bagram, and they were trying to move me around, and she's trying to tell him, hey, his knee's broken. They're like, oh, we don't see that in the charts. And she was able to tell them, hey, they've already done x-rays. This is what happened. So, that was great for her to come back. And then it was, trying to figure out how she deals with that with the Army. And that was an interesting process.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure. So do you remember the transition back home?
Yeah. I mean, I vaguely remember the flight from Kandahar to Bagram. I remember waking up once or twice and kind of was a little bit thirsty at that point. And then from Bagram to Germany, I don't really recall that flight too much. But the flight from Germany back to the States, I remember I was not in good shape. I was just coughing.
A lot on your body.
Yeah. So just coughing up things the entire flight. It was a big medevac flight, so it's I was on the top bunk, I believe. And there was 2 patients on there who were burn patients. And so we had to make an emergency landing because one of them passed away on the flight. But they were like, hey, we're sorry, we haven't been able to help you as much. Like, we're trying to keep these other people alive. And you're just kind of like, hey, I'm good enough right now. And so, I didn't.
And yet you're still severely injured.
Yeah, but you could see that they were working. I couldn't tell what they were doing. I couldn't see exactly, but I could see enough that there was this giant team supporting those folks. And so I remember that flight pretty vividly, and then landing at Andrews Air Force Base, and we landed there, and the military district commander of Washington was on there. General Lennington had come on. I was like, oh, I recognize the guy. He was the commandant when I was a cadet, so I mentioned that to him. And then he was able to see him a couple of times. He had come by, and but being in this area, this is where I kind of saw the connections and the alumni of the West Point community.
They showed up. Oh,
a lot of people showed up in the hospital. Friends that I had, couldn't make it. Their families who were in the area came, and
really,
yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, so it was the kind of bigger community helped out.
What was it like recovering from such a life-changing event?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is you have no context how to deal with it. And most things in life, you either have experienced it at that point, or somebody has experienced it and can give you some ideas, or you know where to start.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any of that. You don't have that when you have something like that, unless you grew up with someone with an amputation. I remember I got eye surgery before we deployed at Walter Reed. And there was a guy who walked by with a single below knee amputee, and I remember I told my wife, man, that would be awful. And then here I was, listening a year later, and the same scenario.
In worse scenario.
Yeah. So yeah, it's dealing with that. How do you recover with it? I think the only benefit I would say with the time that I got injured was during the surge into Afghanistan. So I thought I heard somewhere between 200 and 400 active amputees at Walter Reed.
Oh, wow.
So you had people in all stages of the recovery process. You had people who were about to leave, people who have been going through it for a year or so, people who have kind of just started, people who had just gotten injured. So there was this whole group that you kind of lean on of like, what is the experience? And then you had great physical therapists and occupational therapists who are trained on it, but have been overly trained, I guess, in that time with the amount of people, and kind of give you some tips. And so it was a lot of just learning from other people, learning what works for you and doesn't. And you're just figuring it out. I mean, every day you're figuring it out. I mean, how do you walk on this type of a surface, concrete versus grass versus stairs versus dirt and rocks and all that stuff. You're kind of learning again of how
from
do you
scratch. Like, that's incredible. The fact that you even just named those surfaces, I mean, I guess for normal, for normal able-bodied, you wouldn't think twice.
Yeah.
Unless maybe there's ice.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only time the first time I ever fell was on ice. I had my hands in my jacket, with prosthetics, and I just stepped up on a curb, it was black ice, and if I had feet, I'd have fallen too, but it just happened to be that was the first time. So it's figuring it out. That's why one of the reasons I love golf, and I think from like an injury perspective, how much it helps you out, because you're got an uphill lie, you got a downhill lie, you're in the sand, you're on the side of a hill, you're walking on slippery surfaces, fairway, the grass, the green,
wow,
the concrete. I mean, you're walking on all these different surfaces, and so you have to teach yourself, how do you do it? How do you do it under control? You're swinging a golf club over 100 miles an hour, and you're do it under control and hit the golf ball. And so it's really helps your body. That's why I love sports from a recovery perspective. It helps you figure out how you do it. How do you move your body again and with these kind of injuries?
It's those goals that you said that were institutionalized in you at West Point. Like you have these, it's pushing the threshold. That's interesting. It's not just like fun and games, apparently. You're not just going out there, just, enjoying yourself. You're like training yourself.
Yeah, I don't think about it anymore. I mean, I get along well, but at the beginning I was like, how do I walk on this type of a surface? Wow. 'Cause I can't feel the ground, obviously. I can feel different textures with it, not like the actual feeling of it, but how it reacts to the shoe or sliding or not, and how much traction I have, and going up and down a hill, how do you have to contract your quad or your hamstring to control your descent, because I don't have an ankle to control it anymore. So there's just little things that you learn. Yes, you can learn them anywhere, but kind of you throw it into the golf scenario, you learn it pretty quick.
Yeah. Okay, so what was tougher? Would you say, was it adjusting to the physical challenges or the mental challenges, or maybe even emotional or spiritual challenges?
Yeah, for me it was the physical challenges. I really have been pretty lucky as far as the mental side of it. I don't have any severe PTSD. I haven't had to deal with those types of things. So for me, it's been really the physical, like, how do you do it? How do you get along? Keeping your body in good enough shape to keep doing it, and your legs healthy enough to keep moving.
Yeah.
So I think the physical for me has been the tougher part.
Do you think it takes a mental mindset kind of shift, though, to fully recover? Or, I mean, I guess I don't know if fully recover is actually the appropriate term, I
don't know if you ever fully recover. I think you just learn to be a new you, a new kind of normal, and how you deal with it.
How do you do that?
I don't know. I don't know exactly how you do it, but I think I have a different approach to things now. So you're a little bit more cognizant of how this works, but how it works for others maybe as well, and you kind of just bring it all together. Hey, you have life experience is obviously the greatest teacher of how you're going to deal with things, and I think it's been a good teacher for me of how do you deal with people when other people have injuries or they have things going on in their life that may be tough. People often come and say, if I work out in the gym, they'll be like, oh man, other people aren't working out. They have no excuse. I'm like, yeah, maybe they do though. Maybe they just don't like working out. Or maybe they, have another injury you can't see or something like that. So I'd never try to compare it to someone else, because we're all fighting different things, and different things impact us, and we enjoy different things. And
Do you think that the injury then, because it sounds like you just have this overwhelming feeling of compassion. Has that always been the case?
I don't know. I think when you're young, you think everybody should just, lift themselves up by their bootstraps.
Right.
I think the reality of the world is that's not how it is. We don't all get the same starting point in life. Some people are way ahead, and how things work out in life. And so I think I've always been understanding, but I think with these type of injuries and kind of seeing how it's impacted different people, you realize that everybody has their own challenges, and it's not to judge them for what they have going on.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who is facing the long road to recovery after injury?
Yeah, beginning, I would say definitely start slow.
Start slow.
Yeah, I mean, you have
Most people just they see that goal and they're like, get me there.
Yeah.
Oh,
you got to get yourself healthy enough to do it. Because I have a goal, let me go do it. But you can also burn out too quickly, especially when something like this. You don't have a context of how to put it in. How do I do this? I know these are the steps. You're figuring out every day.
Right.
And then having just good people around you. And I think that is what helped me tremendously. My occupational therapist and my physical therapist came to my room when I was still injured and was like, hey, we're going to get you to run in the Army 10-miler, in a year or two, and we're going to get this, and you're going to be moving. You're like, what? Like, I can barely lift up 5-pound weights right now. my body's atrophied so much. And
Right.
but they were always super positive. They pushed me. They let me, kind of, hey, go this way, don't go this way, from their experiences. And so having them around, having my wife around, having other good people around, just really pushed me to do better and kept me in a positive light. I think there was only one time that injury where I was like, I'm done. And it was right when I came an outpatient at Walter Reed, in a wheelchair, 100% dependent on everybody else for everything. And I remember just telling my wife, I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. It was just that one day, kind of got out of the funk and kept going. But I can see how people get there. I mean, it was pretty quick. I'm so exhausted right now.
Well, was it the exhaustion or?
Yeah, I think it was the exhaustion. It was the sense of like, what can I do? Like I'm 25 years old now and I have no feet anymore. Like that, just being so tired physically, mentally, having all the surgeries and trying to figure out what's next. And I was just, I'm done. And luckily it was just a one day thing. We were kind of able to, get some sleep and wake up the next morning.
Was it, okay, I was gonna ask what helped shift it?
I think it was just a funk. It was just a funk for a day. And, it was kind of accumulation of the time from getting injured, all the surgeries, being an inpatient, becoming an outpatient now and realizing I can't do anything right now. I mean, I'm in this wheelchair, I have this big X-fix on my knee and I'm having to wheel myself around. I don't know how to do this stuff. And I think it was just the accumulation of all those things.
Yeah, kind of a compound effect. So as you know, this podcast is in honor of Max Sinise, it was Gary's son, who we lost in January of 2024. And while Mac was in his arduous battle with chordoma cancer, he was just so resilient. So much so that it's left this everlasting impact on everyone who knew and loved him, but even those who didn't know him and who've learned his story. So I ask you, Tyson, what does resilience mean to you?
Yeah, I guess it just means you keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the world is not a linear path, and your journey is going to go all over the place, and you may want it to go that way, and you may not. And it's just figuring out how to keep going and realizing, maybe you may know that your time is coming, you may not, and it just continue to push yourself and push the people around you to keep trying to achieve whatever they desire to.
Yeah. How do you think that people, we can build more of that in our lives?
Yeah, I think people need greater happiness.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a way of not kind of, hey, you just got to be happy, but there's so much negativity. I mean, turn on the TV for 2 seconds. Everything is just a very
Your phone,
negative.
your TV,
Yeah.
Goodness.
I mean, having more happiness, being around, looking at things in a more positive way, I think that breeds happiness. That brings excitement. Excitement breeds new ideas, and new ideas bring new journeys, and it kind of compounds on itself. And I think that is what it is. For me, if you get people to look at things in a more positive perspective, it ultimately, I think, betters everybody.
Yeah, I love that. So incredibly, after you endured numerous surgeries and to treat infections and your burns, you decided that you wanted to go back to West Point and continue to serve. Why?
Yeah, so I was at Walter Reed. As I mentioned, there's people of all stages of the recovery, and there had been people there who'd been there for several years. And I was like, I cannot be here for several years. Like, I need to get out of here. And so I knew once you started your medical board, you were stuck. You couldn't PCS, you couldn't move. And so I got them to delay it. And the head coach at the time from West Point had come down there. And he wasn't the coach when I was a football player, so I didn't know him, but kind of met him. He was like, hey, if you want to come up and coach at our prep school, glad to do it. So I took him up on the offer.
Did he visit you just because you're a West Pointer and he wanted to see?
A West Point football player. So I still had connections back there.
I love that, though.
People who were coaches or administration staff or some of the players. And so he had come down and had lunch. But yeah, it offered me that, and I was like, anything to get me out of the hospital experience. Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah. I mean, it was awesome, great care there and all those things. But even my physical therapist was like, hey, you need to get to this point. And once you do, yes, we can continue to get you better, but really you're going to get better by experiencing life outside of this hospital. And so I was like, yeah, get me out of here. And so I was able to get orders up there and coach at the prep school there for a year and finish out my Army time. So I got medically separated while I was there. And my wife got moved up there to work. So we were there for a year. But it was a cool experience to be able to go deal with cadets and
full circle here.
Yeah, and see their experience and play and coach football and be involved in that whole process. So it was unique and good way to kind of finish my Army time.
Yeah, now you're creating the foundation for them.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a cadet, you had people who had just gone to Iraq or Afghanistan, and it was a couple years in, so they're coming back and teaching you their experiences. You're seeing them, but you're not seeing anybody who's really experienced any significant injuries for the most part. They'll have guest speakers come speak, and Medal of Honor recipients, all these people that will come speak to you about what they've done or what's going on. But kind of the injury side of the house, you don't see. I mean, we would get reminded, like if a classmate or if a West Point graduate dies in combat, they make an announcement about it. And so at breakfast or lunch, whenever they make it, and so you hear about it. They have a moment of silence. Some which the longer you're there, you start knowing these junior officers.
Right.
But it's so separated. It happened over there. You don't see the brutality of what happened.
Right.
Like, did they get shot and killed? Did they get blown up and they don't exist and as a physical being anymore? Like those things you don't see. You don't get to see the graphic nature of what it is and the impacts of war. And so I say me being there, does show that a little bit. Hey, this guy has
a lot, not just a little. It does, right?
Yeah, 2 prosthetic legs, and how does he get along with them?
Mm-hmm. Did people ask you questions? Were they inquisitive about it?
They were.
Yeah.
I mean, I told the story several times. I think it's good to see that. It's a double-edged sword. It's good to see it because it puts the reality, but sometimes the reality can be too much.
It's still a reality.
Yeah.
How do you think that your specially adapted home that's going to be built for your injuries is going to ease your daily challenges being a double amputee?
Just the process of being able to walk around and not have to deal with the stairs, getting around. So I have a wheelchair at home. It doesn't fit into any of the doors very well. Like you could jam it in there between the door if you have to go to the bathroom or something like that. And it's multi-level, so you're kind of stuck. I think the thing that really stood out to me at first was your kids fall asleep in the cars when you're driving home. Carrying them up the stairs, I don't have the balance to do it. We're carrying a kid and holding the guardrail, the rail. I mean, I can muscle my way through it, but now my kids are getting too big. I'm not going to carry them. I'll wake them up and tell them to go inside. But that was kind of one of the things like, it's just tough. Yeah. So I think having this ability to get around, and my kids don't know it now because they're so little, but as they get older and become adults, and my wife and I get older, and they don't have to have this thing of Dad can't get up the stairs anymore, and we need to figure out what's next. It will be in a house where, again, they have no context. They don't understand it now, but in the future, they'll experience of a little bit of ease in their life as well.
Yeah, it's restoring your independence and supporting your empowerment. That's the purpose of it. And I think that oftentimes it's not really known that because you're standing and you look able-bodied, but at your house you're often in your wheelchair.
Yeah, I don't use the wheelchair very much at all.
Okay.
I'll usually just kind of, if I got an injury, I'll take the prosthetic off when I sit down and kind of let it not be a nuisance, and then I'll pop it back on and kind of grunt through. But that's not the best way to go.
Right.
That's probably because of a limitation of the current house we live in. There should be more times where I'm like, all right, let me get in the wheelchair. Let me make a smarter decision about this, and have the long term in mind when I'm doing things. And I think that's one of the things that it's definitely going to help with.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Tyson. Thank you for sharing your story. You were such an inspiration, and we are so looking forward to welcoming you and your family to your forever home, which is coming up soon.
November.
Woo!
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're going to celebrate you and celebrate your family. So, and as we do with every podcast episode, Mac will close out the show.
You've been listening to GSF Podcast, the official podcast of the Gary Sinise Foundation. If you'd like to find out more about what the foundation is up to, or if you'd like to make a donation, please visit GarySineseFoundation.org. Make sure to tune in next time for more interviews, and thanks for joining us.